Howdy, welcome to another episode of Old Men Yell at Cloud. This is your host, Patrick. I am joined as always by our other hosts, Christopher Brown.
Hi.
And Mr. Jim Schultz.
I'm loving it.
And on today's episode, we are covering Neil Young's 1972 classic, Harvest. We are joined today by our very special guest. You may know him from his solo project, The Analogs. I am very excited to introduce Lowell area freelance writer, copywriter, and musician, Mr. Al Gentile.
Hi, everybody.
That was great.
Ooh. He's got a voice for radio, for sure.
It's me,
Yes.
Al Gentile.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sexing this up.
Yeah. Super psyched.
You're on Late Nights with Al.
Oh, God, yeah.
So good. Yeah, so this is kind of a full circle for you because you came on my our sister podcast, Jukebox Zeros, to review Neil Young's Trans.
Another classic. Absolutely classic.
Total classic. And yeah, now we're here talking about a good album with a couple other knuckleheads. It's good shit.
Good album, bad people.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
I hate you guys already.
I do not regret bringing you on the program.
Yeah, this is going strikingly well.
After the members of Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young went their separate ways in 1970, Young recruited a group of country session musicians, which he christened the Stray Gators, and recorded a country rock record called Harvest. The record was a massive hit, producing a U.S. #1 single in Heart of Gold. The album also produced minor hits like Old Man and fan favorite Needle and the Damage Done, an ode to fellow musicians who had lost their battle to heroin addiction. The album also featured backing vocals by James Taylor and Linda Ronstadt, and the backing band were a collective of country session musicians. Their names were, we got Tim Drummond on bass.
Which is strikingly similar to Tom Drummond, my friend on Facebook, who is the bass player from Better Than Ezra.
Oh, that very good friend of yours, yes.
Yes.
Wow, you know that guy.
Yes, that's cool.
That's a cool thing.
Knows him biblically. What does that mean, anyway?
Well, that is not true. Tom and I are we're regular Facebook friends.
Anyway, so this is probably his uncle or dad, Tim Drummond, and then we got Kenny Buttrey on drums, Mr. Ben Keith on lap pedal steel, and Jack Nitze, or Nietzsche. I'm going to say Nietzsche. What kind of looks like Nietzsche.
It looks like Nietzsche.
Yeah. Nietzsche. Anyway, so he played piano and additional lap pedal steel. The album also featured the London Symphony Orchestra on tracks like Man Needs a Maid and There's a World. And Nietzsche also composed the orchestral arrangements on those two songs featuring the LSO. The album was produced by Elliot Mazer and Neil Young with additional production from Jack Nietzsche and Henry Louis. It was recorded in a variety of locations, including Quadraphonic Sound Studios in Nashville, Barking Town Hall in London, and Royce Hall. And the track Needle and the Damage Done was recorded at a live performance at UCLA. And I think that was Royce Hall. Sorry, I got that mixed up.
Again, that was the University of California in Los Angeles.
Thank you.
No problem, but that's where that was done.
Is that a real city?
I was wondering.
Do we know?
There's a Los Angeles now? That's pretty amazing.
I just knew about Angeles.
Los Angeles.
I know New Anglis. Anglis, LA too. You thought LA was a thing?
Well, check out Electric Boogaloo.
So the album was met with mixed reviews at first. Rolling Stone's John Mendelsohn called the album a disappointing retread of earlier superior efforts by Young, writing of the discomfortingly unmistakable resemblance of nearly every song on this album to an earlier Young composition, as if he had just added a steel guitar and new words to After the Gold Rush. Which is, like, pretty harsh. I think in context, it was just like he had a sound, and he was sort of carrying that on to the next record.
So, as a Neil Young neophyte, where does this fall in his solo canon? Is this his first solo record, or
this is his fourth?
Oh, it's his fourth.
Yeah. So
Okay.
he released a couple solo albums before hooking up with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and then was with them for a couple years, and then
I think 1970 they kind of went separate ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he released After the Gold Rush around that time as well,
Okay.
before he left. And then this was his first album after he left.
Yeah, this is his post.
Yeah, exactly. And there are actually, After the Gold Rush has Southern Man on it, which sounds a lot like Alabama on this album.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other ballads, piano-y ballads that are kind of similar to the ones on this record.
Sure.
And another review in the Montreal Gazette called it embarrassing, which I think was kind of harsh as well. However, Harvest holds the distinction of being the best-selling album of 1972 in the U.S., and more recent reviews have painted it in a much more positive light, even going so far to consider it one of Young's finest albums. In 2003, Rolling Stone even rebuked their previous assessment, listing it as the 78th greatest album of all time. It should be noted that Neil Young appears 7 times
This is
on
the
same list.
the same publication that said that Kid A was a pile of crap as well, right?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
fucking idiots.
Yeah. The A to Z of Kid A.
I mean, there's like a poop joke in that review somewhere, wasn't there?
There were multiple. I mean, they did literally like an A to Z. Like, A is for, B is for. I mean, they had to make poop jokes to make that work.
I mean,
I don't think they had the creativity amongst their staff at that point to make 26 jokes without at least one of them being scat related.
no less 26 jokes. Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, yeah, let's go around the horn and talk about favorite songs.
Ah, the
Fuck
horn.
yeah.
The old horn.
Yeah.
Old Bruce Hornsby. Al, what was your favorite song?
I would have to say Alabama. I have to say, like, in terms of that, and we were pointing it out when we were listening to it, that really clutch Neil Young guitar sound, which, you know, I probably hadn't listened to this album for maybe 7 years all the way through since like the first time, or when I was more familiar with it. When I heard those first notes sort of come in, that was like kind of one of my moments of like, oh yeah, like this sounds absolutely incredible.
I will totally buy that. One of the notes that I wrote down for the song is that it has tasty guitar licks, and I am someone who plays guitar and gives no shits about guitar licks. Like
I
for
only
me,
play chords.
yeah, more or less. And like for me, guitar is a tool. It's like it's a means to an end, and that's something where guitar is actually doing something really fucking cool, and I really appreciate it. So coming from me, that means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's one of those things where most of the album is sort of very soft and very, very downbeat, but once Alabama comes on, you get that sort of real bristle that Neil Young is known for, especially if you listen to any of his live stuff. His guitar tones and his live stuff is just absolutely insane, almost borderline noisy, almost.
Yeah.
And like this song, it's sort of dialed back in that sense, but it really sort of knocks a punch on you from start to finish.
It also did sound like a band playing in a room, which
Yeah.
was pretty unique for this album.
Yeah.
The production on it, yeah, the compression on it makes it very crowded, so it sounds a lot more intense that way too. It has a very grungy effect to it. Proto grunge.
What's interesting is a lot of this album was recorded with like monitors live with mics in the room, so there's actually like a lot of bleed from a lot of the tracks, which might be like, you know, when you listen to that guitar track, it sounds like there's almost like a little bit of slapback on it.
Yeah.
Like there's like it's being hit off of walls, you know, and the mic sort of picking all that up.
Because they basically had a PA in the room.
Pretty much, yeah. That's how, at least that's how I understand it from the research.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned live Neil Young. Have any of you guys seen Neil Young live?
No, have you?
I have.
All right, here comes story time.
Story time.
With Jim Schultz.
Do you have any drawings of Neil Young today?
Ooh, I don't have my overpriced Apple Pencil with
damn.
me today, so I don't.
Wanted to see some sick mutton chops.
I'll get back to you on that one.
Old man
Just look at a picture of Sabretooth in the meantime, and you'll be good.
I went to see him in 2014 at what is now the Bach Center. And it was cool. It was just him doing solo stuff. But the most the interesting part about the show is like, he'd finish a song, and he had just every instrument imaginable up on the stage, and he would just across the entire stage, and it's just him on the stage by
And
himself.
he'd just like go play whatever instrument.
Yeah, but
that's pretty sweet.
He would finish a song, and everybody would clap and be like, "We love you, Neil," and then it would just go completely silent, and he'd just wander across the stage to the next instrument, and you could hear like the floorboards creaking under his feet as he's walking across the stage. And then he'd sit down on the piano and do whatever. But yeah,
Makes sense, because he's such like a revered guy that people want to show, oh yeah, we love you, but then when he's sort of getting ready to do his next thing, people are like, shit, what is he gonna do?
Yeah.
So there's
This is
no
Neil
banter.
effing Young.
He was just.
No, there was some banter. He complained about fracking a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, Neil.
Hashtag that's so 2014.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, it's my turn, huh?
Sure is.
So this is interesting for me as far as favorite songs go, because as you guys know, I tend not to like songs that don't have drums in them, and I'm not a fan of live songs, but I'm going to go with Needle and the Damage Done. Just because growing up, my dad played a lot of Neil Young, and I remember hearing this song when I was younger, and I always loved the like kind of upstrokes on the upbeats for the acoustic guitar. I always thought that was really cool. And being a young kid, I had no idea what the fuck the song was about. And as I got older and I started realizing, like, wow, this song is like, it's very moving and very deep, and just, it's very raw, and to not have anything but him singing and the guitar just kind of really drives that home.
It has one of the most interesting progressions, I think, in the entire album, and it's so simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
And I remember when I first heard that song, that was actually the first song on this album that I've sort of like really connected to. And, that was also when I first started getting into music and kind of navigating my way around it. And I remember like listening to it over and over again, and sort of when it goes into that last chord before it cycles back into the verse, trying to wrap my mind around that progression was such an exercise in understanding for me.
Yeah, so it's a very deceptive sort of modal interchange that happens.
That's a very good word for it.
Between where it's in D minor, but then he sort of switches into this A minor thing, and goes for the E chord, so you think it's going to resolve on the A, but it goes to the D instead. Yeah, it's very very well crafted.
whatever Patrick just said.
And
Because I played the drums.
Exactly.
I hit things.
Yeah, and I think as far as the lyrics go, they're very raw, and they're not sentimental or like preachy or anything in any way. They very genuine and timeless in that way.
Definitely my favorite lyrics on the album.
Yeah.
Very somber, immediately very sad.
Very real.
Yeah. So real.
So for me, like I said, possibly on this recording, might have been the last recording that we tried to do. This is the first time that I've listened to this album all the way through. And Neil Young is a singer-songwriter that is influenced countless people that I listen to all the time. And I've never really taken the time to do it myself. So the first time I ever heard him doing anything after kind of realizing who he was in the grand scheme of things was for some MTV Movie Awards thing or Video Music Awards thing where he did a live performance in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he did Needle and the Damage Done.
But every junkie's like a setting sun.
And that was probably in like 98, 99, I'm guessing somewhere in that ballpark. And that was the first time where I started kind of connecting him to the people that I liked, like Radiohead and REM and things like that. And I'm just going to go with that song because that song is great. That's an amazing live recording, and I love everything about it except for the fact that they have the applause at the end. If they just cut that applause, this album would be flawless for me.
I forgot that happened, and I was like, and Pat was saying
And
when
then
he got
just
this
cuts out of
copy-
nowhere.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, it has like one skip on it, and I don't think I caught where it was, but when it sort of went from straight applause into the last song, I was like, is that the skip? And it's like, no, that's actually how it is.
Christopher's magic brush fixed the skip. Actually,
No, there was no skip.
Right.
There was no skip.
Okay, yeah.
There was no skip.
Rush.
There was just a bad edit.
Thanks,
The album.
Amazon.
yeah, because there's like just enough of a decay on the guitar that they could have done like anything. They could have done some.
They could have
stupid
faded that
production
out
quick.
really well. Yeah. But yeah, no, that song is just fucking beautiful. Lyrics are great. It's a great tune.
Yeah, an exercise in minimalism and also inventiveness. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly.
Speaking of inventiveness, you know how many patents Neil Young has?
What?
He has a shit ton of patents on stuff.
For like what?
Pono for one.
Yeah, fucking Pono. Yeah.
What is Pono?
Oh, that was his weird triangular
lossless MP3
player that was
yeah.
like yay tall. It was like 9 inches tall. Or
My
7
friend
inches
Mike has
tall.
one. No, it's probably. It's not that big. It's no
5
bigger than
inches-
this can.
5 inches tall.
Sure.
He's the last person I would expect to have a patent on an MP3 player.
He's got a lot of patents. So he has a bunch of patents on like model trains. Yeah.
Okay.
A bunch of shit that's been
Well,
done.
I do know that's like his thing, right? He's
I
like a
think so.
huge enthusiast for
Yeah.
model
Is he
trains.
just
then-
Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys or what?
He might be. And then I guess his son
Got a bunch
is
of cats.
his son has special needs, so I guess he came
Yeah.
up with a bunch of patents to.
That I did
Tying
know.
that
Yeah.
back in,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
To
Yeah.
the trans episode because he wrote that album for his son.
Quote unquote.
Quote, unquote.
I mean, people were kind of like, Neil, this album fucking sucks. And he's like, you don't understand it because it's about my son who has autism, I think it is, or
Cerebral palsy.
cerebral palsy. And it's like, oh, you don't get it because it's like about my son. And I read that and I was like, it sounds kind of like a cop out, but
That's contrived.
not sure.
A little bit. So my favorite song is the opening track, Out on the Weekend.
See the lonely boy out on the weekend, trying to make it pay. Can relate to joy. He tries to speak and can't begin to
I really like the way it sort of brings you into the album and sort of lets you into this world. Or it doesn't start on the main chord progression. It's sort of this different line that starts it out, and then it brings you into the song proper. So it kind of has this sort of overture property to it that I really like. And yeah, it's just like a really simple, pretty song. It's great to sort of throw on and smoke a J to on a Sunday morn.
Oh yeah. Well, so it's I thought it was interesting that because I thought it was a great place for the album to start because it
Yeah.
brings in a lot of the elements that sort of flow throughout the album,
Exactly.
at least musically and tonally, but not in a way that's sort of because the album sort of builds and then it like sort of has like a really quick drop when you hit Needle and the Damage Done, but this
Sure.
brings in like the lap steel and everything in like a very subtle way. So you get an idea of like, oh, this is what this album's going to be, and then the London Symphony Orchestra comes in. And you're like, what? But
So yeah, it definitely introduces you to what are the most distinctive parts of the album, where it's just you got his guitar, his sort of guitar style.
it's very steady. For a lot
Yeah,
of songs, very steady.
That very like small room, but like very dry drum. That's sort
Yeah.
of very super simple. I don't know. It's great to listen to with headphones because it just sounds like you're in like a crappy practice room somewhere with
This is
band
the sort of
playing.
song that I wrote down a note about it that in 1972 it's like super novel songwriting because like the chord changes are pretty cool and what have you.
Yeah.
And 40 years later, there are people still doing that sort of thing, and it's no longer interesting.
Yeah.
Like it was super novel at one point in time, and unfortunately, it's still happening.
Yeah, I mean, it was invented then, and then now people have been trying to reinvent
Yeah, exactly.
it.
Like I'm talking 40 years later
Yeah.
about the unfortunateness of it. Like it was super cool back then.
Something about just the character or the time and the place of it, and the mythos of the musicians involved. I think are part of why it's. Oh my God, what's going on here?
I don't know, but this clown over here has something to say, so I want to hear what.
All right, yeah, Jim.
So
James.
I found all of Neil Young's patents on this website here. And there were about 25 per page, and there were fucking 5 pages worth.
Jesus,
Oh, You're
Christ.
odd.
Here is one. Model train control system, publication number 201-501-08-285. A model train control system providing a more realistic modeling of the movement, sound, smoke, and lighting effects of a model train. A number of dynamic inputs are used to control such effects. Novel features include providing a dynamic variable speed compensator, a dynamic engine load calculator, automatic dynamic momentum, an adjustable train brake, spectrum control, a velocity controller, pressure-sensitive effects, a voice-activated dispatcher system,
Jesus.
a train location and information reporter network, two-digit addressing, a traffic control system, accessory control, a model train central control module, and removable memory modules. And this was in 2015.
That was one?
That was one.
That's one. This guy's been busy. I mean, mind you, he's been like releasing albums pretty consistently. Like his latest one was in like 2017 and 16 before that, and like all this. Wow.
And in the meantime,
what
he's
a
been
busy
like
man.
getting divorced and like remarried, and like he's had like a lot of like life changes too. In addition, to
I think
all
he
this.
just got married to Daryl Hannah. Actually.
Yeah, he did
no
within the
way.
past couple of weeks. Yeah.
Or it was rumored, but maybe it's been.
He's gonna pay
confirmed.
that child support somehow.
I
you know?
feel like he's just
Better way than a
making these.
patent.
He's making these things out of spite or something. He looks so grumpy and like he's just down in his basement,
this
like
one's
avoiding
like a-
his wife or
Well,
something.
you saw the first X-Men with Wolverine and how Sabretooth like attacked him in the wilderness of Canada. Like that's Neil Young's life.
So you bring up a good point.
He came up with he patented a type of newspaper printing ink.
What?
Did we need that?
I don't know.
All right,
Well,
so
we don't necessarily need it, but he patented it.
Christopher brings up a good point, which is that he is Canadian. So how do the patent laws work in Canada? Like, are they super lenient?
Well,
and just,
I
like,
think it's
let you
all
do
these are all
whatever you want?
U.S. patents
Yeah.
because I think he.
He might be a citizen.
You
Oh,
think
he
he's a
has
citizen
got to be a
here.
citizen at this point. Yeah.
What the fuck is it? Homogeneous, aqueous, energy curable metallic printing ink compositions.
It's the T1000.
He might be
Liquid metal.
stabbing weapons.
Oh, he's also the founder of a little small company called Skynet. Little startup out in the West, yeah.
In that rumored quote-unquote Los Angeles.
Scare quotes, Los Angeles.
Oh my god.
Oh fuck. All right, Al. What was your least favorite track?
Okay, so my least favorite track, honestly, I think There's a World. The whole idea of having the LSO in there really sort of knocks me out every time I hear it. And like, there's even like a moment on this song where there's like, I think it's like a harp line that makes you just think like Disney song.
Oh God, I'm glad
you
we're
know-
on the same page because
Yeah.
you know where I'm fucking going with this.
You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I remember hearing it and like, you know, being like, what on like who made this happen? Like somebody must have like forced it on him, or like he must have been like really drunk one night and said like, this needs 108-piece orchestra now. You know, like what is going on?
Hey, Al, have you heard Chinese Democracy?
No, I have not.
There's a track on it called If the World. And as soon as I saw the song title, I kind of thought of that and giggled to myself, and I was like, there is no way there's going to be any similarities. And then immediately the song started, and I was like, oh, fuck, there are similarities.
Is there an orchestra on that song too?
Sure is, yeah.
There's a
it's
there's a
rough.
song by ICP called "Fuck the World." No orchestra on that one. Though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fuck Cisco, the kind of money Crisco, that song, yeah.
Yeah. Also, what was interesting was hearing "Old Man" before this, which is like still like a very chill song. To this song, I thought the recording of the vocals was really strange because like, you know, a lot of times I feel like when there's a lot of elements going on in a recording, they may sort of like bring certain things back or whatever. But the vocals actually sounded to me, and mind you, I'm an untrained ear, but to just be badly recorded, they're like really deep back in the mix, and it's just like when you're listening to it, especially in our format, which is the entire album at once, it just didn't seem right.
Yeah, I feel like the album as a whole is it's not very consistent. I think everything's kind of different on it.
There's probably about 2/3 of it, I would say the vocals are super upfront. Like very upfront, not a lot of reverb, and like they're there for you to hear. And yeah, this is definitely a song where they're pushed back. in lieu of the orchestration, which is
in a strange way that doesn't have any intention to it. You know,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem
exactly.
intentional almost.
Exactly,
It's like
yeah.
it's like he accidentally kicked the mic and they're just like, fuck it, whatever. Sure.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
What were your thoughts on that song, Pat?
On what? There's a world.
Yeah.
I'll get to it.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. It's. I guess we can just hop to me for 1 second. Yeah, that was going to be my pick. There's a world. It definitely is very jarring coming off of Old Man, which is like, very chill and much more what I want this album to be about sonically. It is this really a place for the LSO? Like, that's definitely up for debate. I would agree with you.
Yeah.
On that song, I think it's a little more tasteful and like brought in, like they ease into it a little more on Man Needs a Maid.
Yeah. 100%.
Agreed.
My least favorite song was "There's a World," and I just wrote "Beauty and the Beast."
No, there it is. There it is.
Tale as old as time.
So we did an episode on Songs of Faith and Devotion by Depeche Mode, which is one of my favorite records. And Jim, his comment at the point was, you could have put this shit in Beauty and the Beast and no one would have noticed. So apparently we have more of that.
Yeah, it's weird because it's well done. Like, I mean, in terms of like cinematic.
Well, yeah,
orchestral
when you
music,
pay
it's
the
like,
LSO to fucking record on your album, it's
Exactly.
probably going to be pretty good.
But then it's like Neil Young. It's like you can almost hear how bad he looks. You know what I mean? Like he's just such an ugly dude. Like, great man, or arguably, but it's like he's making them sound worse almost.
I'm going to say Out on the Weekend.
Always got to be different, don't you,
Yeah.
Christopher?
Are you offended, Pat?
He always hates my favorite. It's fine.
No, that's
That's how we work.
definitely not true. But when I first heard this, my thought was like, uh-oh. I'm not going to like this. And I know a lot of people who like Neil Young and that I like their music and this is going to be weird and I'm going to have to like dig into another album of his and try to figure this out and this is going to be a whole thing for me.
And make up for
Christopher wasn't going to sleep tonight. Trying to figure this out.
Good.
Well, so why don't you like it?
So it was interesting. So it was like a fun chord progression for me, insofar as like not the standard thing that you're expecting, but it was exactly the sort of songwriting that would have sounded lazy years later.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
So if you fast forward 40 years and you have Wilco playing that chord progression, it sounds very lazy. And it seems like they're not doing anything. Like, granted, I know back then that it was not the same, but I don't know. It's just, I guess, like, time has done its damage to me personally.
Well, so it's interesting that you bring that up because, I have sort of this idea that it's never a chord progression that makes a song. It's about like what you do with it. I mean, why do people like the Sex Pistols? Every
Yeah,
song.
why do people like the Sex Pistols?
I have no
good
fucking
question.
clue.
But it's all like what you do with it. And yes, I'll see that it's like a pretty standard. If I'm sort of thinking about it correctly, a pretty standard like country progression.
Sure, yeah.
And I guess it's like are you looking at it saying that the chord progression is lacking, or is it what the arrangement around it is lacking?
The whole thing, I think, is sort of substandard by today's standard. Again, today's standard is the filter I'm applying to it. I'm not saying that
No
it's
Power Man 5000, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, fuck no! This is not what it's like when worlds collide. I'm applying today's filter to it, which is a bit unfair, especially because I have not listened to this record before tonight. So it's just this record, like this song, feels so color by numbers, Americana, circa 2010 to 2020, because I assume the same shit's going to happen for another 2 years. Like,
Oh, yeah.
It's just it just feels like everything else that's out there, and it's not Neil Young's fault that it's been copied, but at the same time, like I have the same malaise like occurring to me when I hear it.
I don't know. It is. Go for it.
I was going to say I've kind of come to that conclusion on a lot of like Beatles-esque things as well, where it just, where it's become so contrived and we've been entrenched in it for so long that
Sure.
listening to, the Beatles' original albums don't quite have the effect on me that they once did.
Yeah.
For that reason.
It's-
God damn it, capitalism.
It's funny when I put this. I put this album on when I was on the way here because I hadn't listened to it in a while, and just this weekend has been so fall, like
Yeah.
the temperature and everything. It's been great. Love it. Feels like fall. Now football's in the air.
Harvest
And, so is the
time.
traffic. And exactly, album's called Harvest, and I put it on, and it was like, this is a good fall drive-in song right here.
Yeah, get some
Oh,
pumpkin
definitely.
spice in
Yeah.
that coffee and turn on some Harvest. Woo! Yeah, I mean, I'll say like it is a pretty flat song compared to like I feel like most of the tracks here have something that's sort of what's the word I'm thinking of?
They have that je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, maybe I don't speak French, so but like every song has
It's
something
Spanish.
superlative, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
about them. A lot of the tracks in the song that's very superlative that stands out. Like for me, Alabama, that guitar once it comes in, that's what
Yeah.
makes it for me.
Yeah, agreed.
This is a pretty flat track, so
Yeah, no, that actually sums up what I was getting at much better.
oh cool. Yeah, Pat, what you like is flat.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, like the Earth.
I think playing. Listen, I quit that group when I learned how to read. Okay, which happened in between last episode and this week. No, I don't know. I like the simplicity of it. I feel like it works in its own way. It moves at its own pace, like a lonely old horse walking down a trail,
Yeah.
and shit.
You know what is interesting about this track? I mean, you guys are familiar with Beck, right?
Yeah.
You know the album Sea Change?
I know that one.
I'm not as familiar with it. It's not my favorite, but
Well, it's one of my favorite albums from Beck, and as you know, it's like sort of a very folk and like country album.
It is,
And when I
yeah.
heard this song, it sort of reminded me a lot because a lot of those songs are very down tempo, and there's like. There are some points where it gets to be like very big and symphonic, which he does symphony much better than Neil Young. But like, a lot of it was just very down tempo, very steady. Nothing really sort of sticks out to you except for the poetry, which for this song, I think is like the one thing that makes it a great song is the lyrical content of it is something like very akin to Neil Young. That's sort of his bag.
it sort of has this feeling for me where you're putting it on at like say the beginning of a road trip or something, getting ready to drive down 495 or whatever
Going
a
out
fall
on
day.
the weekend, all right.
And down to Attleboro to see my buddy Jim or whatever the fuck.
Gonna go to Applebee's.
You have to listen to this album like 3 times over and over again to get to before you get to the house, though. So.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and
I didn't get to the end. I didn't get to the 95-93 split, and it was over.
it is a quick
I was
album.
like, oh shit!
But it sort of has this vibe to it of this guy just sort of like walking down a path, like getting ready to throw a bindle across his back, like I'm gonna go on a
Yeah.
little trip.
He's gonna get into that freight train and just see where it goes.
Yeah.
I actually forgot what this song sounded like. In my opinion, it's probably one of the more like forgettable tracks. But when I read the title, I just thought to myself, I laughed to myself, and like, oh, this is the party song.
All right.
You know what? You know what I thought about? Now you just thought about that with the sack over your shoulder and being like the hobo. That's just kind of.
Yeah.
I just want to go up to homeless people and ask them why aren't they doing that. If I was a homeless person, I'd be on freight trains all the fucking time. That's the dream right there.
It's thrilling.
Yeah.
You know what? I think the train culture has gotten a little. They've cracked down on that shit.
It's a bunch of
Unfortunately,
bullshit.
Yeah, you have to have like an associate's degree to ride on a train now or something.
it's such bullshit. Yeah,
so insane.
Ever since the crust punks gentrified the homeless community, it made things a lot harder for the actual
And the whole
working
kids
class
getting
hobos.
stuck inside the freight cars and dying of starvation. That probably cut down on it a little bit too.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I've always wanted to do that. Just climb into a freight car on a train and just see where it goes.
I like to have like a Jackie Chan style fight on top of a train.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. Just with yourself though.
I don't know, because I feel like if you're going to have a Jackie Chan style fight, you want to do that like somewhere dense. You want to do that like deep in like Brooklyn or somewhere like that, where there's a lot of walls that you can like jump back and forth off of, so you can scale an entire building.
Or like an outdoor subway in like Neo Tokyo or something.
Oh, can you put like sticky things on your feet and hands so you can?
No,
like,
no, you don't need to do that.
Jackie
if you're
Chan
Jackie
does not
Chan,
need
come
to do
on,
that.
man.
And if Jackie Chan had
But
something
I'm not
sticky on
Jackie
his
Chan. I
hands,
wanna
it
do
would
this.
be like something ridiculous. Like he would have put his hands in, like he would have been in like a glue factory. And it would have been like, oh, now his hands are sticky and he can stick everywhere. You know.
Okay, I missed the part where we're existing as like a Jackie Chan avatar. Are we like doing his motions and he's acting it out for us? We're living in his body.
Yeah.
Oh man, imagine that. Like, so what would be interesting about that for me?
My body
personally-
would hurt so much the next day.
No, it wouldn't.
What were you
No, it
doing
wouldn't.
last night
Because
being Jackie Chan?
you would be like acting out things. So you'd be like, all right, I'm gonna jump onto this wall, and like you try to do it, and then like his body would incorrectly go towards that wall to do whatever Jackie Chan would normally do, because you have no idea how to do what he would normally do. So you'd basically be like watching his body.
So wait a minute, are you controlling Jackie Chan's body, or is Jackie Chan controlling your body? Because I'm imagining Jackie Chan is in like a fucking motion capture suit, and he's controlling your body, and he's just like, your body is limp, and he's controlling it.
So in
and you're just fucking flinging
No,
up
you're
against
gonna
walls
take
and
Jackie
shit.
Chan through the fucking McDonald's drive-through and make him drink an entire milkshake for 5 minutes.
and then do a backflip.
Yeah, be
Throw
like,
it up on yourself.
be like, why is he panting? That can't be him.
So just for the record, I think if Jackie Chan was controlling anyone in this room right now, and he had us do normal Jackie Chan stuff, the end result would be like one of those mothers who like lifted a car to get off of their child, like one of those adrenaline rush things where like it's technically possible at the time when they do it, and then their body is ruined from doing whatever they just did. That a human body.
That's
is
what I
not
said.
supposed
I'd
to
be
do.
so sore the next day.
I think it would go beyond that, but yes,
Probably.
Would you be able to use that as an excuse to call out of work?
I can't come into work today. I was Jackie Chan last night.
Oh man.
Oh, that's fun.
So like, imagine if this was like a place of business that you could go to, or like you could get like the Rush Hour duo where you could be Chris Tucker as well.
I feel like this is like the movie The Mask, but instead of turning into The Mask, you turn into fucking Jackie Chan.
No, it's being John Malkovich. It's being Jackie Chan.
Just come out of a hole.
Except there's an office next door. Being Chris Tucker.
That place doesn't get nearly as much business as it deserves. I don't think.
That place is not as entertaining.
Well, no, but like I feel like it deserves a little more credit. I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
I would patronize it.
I want to ask you all a question about this album. So I want to bring it back because I was thinking about this
Thank you.
immediately.
We're not good at this.
Yeah, please do.
Let me be the anchor.
Hey, whose show is this? Fuck you.
So like when you hear on like Alabama and when you hear like the CSNY backing vocals come back and it's like really is so characteristic. It's like unmistakable.
Yeah.
Like when you hear I think we were pointing out that it was always two of
It was always
CSNY, right?
It was always two. It was never three.
Yeah, like when you guys heard that, did that also make you like sort of click back and be like, am I listening to Neil Young or am I listening to CSNY?
No, it always felt like it was a big vocal production, but it never felt like I was listening to another project.
The guitar felt like it. It had that same guitar tone as Ohio, I think.
Yeah.
I think it had that
And
kind of vibe to
I
it.
should add that I am not super familiar with CSN or CSNY as well. But yeah, no, it never felt like it was harkening back. It just felt like it was a big, old-timey, like there was a lot of vocals happening sort of thing.
Like,
And like, I don't know, what song was it that I wrote a note down for? There were a couple of songs where there were all those backing vocals happening, where like the backing vocals sounded awesome, and it sounded cool, and it sounded dense, and it sounded like everything had a purpose, but it didn't remind me of anything.
yeah, that's interesting. Like you said about the guitar tone and like Alabama, like it almost sounded like Alabama was like a "Bring the Boys Back Home" type of song, and it was like it was on Alabama and I believe what was the other song that they all sort of came back in?
Are you ready for the country?
Yeah,
They're on there.
Yeah.
It's like Crosby and Stills do one,
Yeah.
and then Crosby and Nash do one, and then Steele Stills and Nash do another one. It's
Yeah,
like
there's-
every variation.
Yeah, it's like the fucking Sith rule of 2. Like there can never be more than 2.
I wonder why that is. That's such an interesting thing. I mean, maybe it was like to not sound as much like CSNY, but then that's just kind of like a lame way to do it.
I mean, it could have been, but like this is kind of a. It seems lame to kind of conjecture this, but it also could be that he just knew their voices well enough, and he's like, "Oh well, Steven Stills would help me out with this," and
Well, they each have a very unique timbre to their voice, and that's what was kind of cool about CSNY. Deja Vu, that record in particular, is the way that they would blend those 4 voices together.
yeah. But for me, in particular, like whenever there's a lot of vocal blending on this album, it just sounded like vocal blending. It didn't sound like unique. It sounded like a bunch of vocals doing really well. Like
Yeah.
it sounded great together, but it didn't sound like I was hearing a product that existed.
Right. It sounded more like he was using it as an instrument.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a bad thing. It was
Yeah.
a great thing. But it didn't sound like anything I've heard before.
I mean, the whole point of vocal harmonies is to enhance the main melodic line.
Yeah, agreed.
It works almost the same way as harmonics would.
Sure,
where
yeah.
it's just like the more harmonics you build on something, the more apparent the melody sounds.
Yes.
Like overtones and such. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
MVP?
MVP. Al, what was your MVP moment?
I would say, and this is where we talk about the most favorite singular moment,
Right, exactly.
on
Correct.
on the record. I would say honestly, come back to me.
Come back?
Oh,
Come back to
interesting.
me.
We've
Let me
not
think.
had that
there was,
before.
There was a few
I'm
that
into that.
really
I'm
stuck
into
out
that.
to me. So please, yeah, you
Oh,
go.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
wow.
I'm gonna be silent and read.
Let's fucking do that, Jim.
Mine was the 11/8 part. All right, back to you, Al.
No, we're okay.
No, I that really threw me kind of for a loop there. I never picked up on that, and I don't know if it was just because like I hadn't listened to this album in a long time, and maybe I just didn't remember the song. But it's really cool how they kind of go from the 4 and then right into that. It's like a 5/5/8 6/8 alternation. So ultimately, it looks
Yeah, no, that was
It gives it a little bit more momentum because
And there's-
otherwise it's
yeah.
like a very slow jazz waltz, but it gives it a little
Yeah.
more of a
yeah,
hiccup.
and it's got that snare shuffle to it, which is
Yeah.
nice and tasty.
the weird like upper body dance you're doing.
Nice and tasty.
My
Tasty
God.
kites.
Not quite like a big and tasty from McDonald's, but nice and tasty.
Oh, no, those are Dunkin' Donuts.
That was Dunkin' Donuts, and as Patrick pointed out
No,
to me,
big and tasty was a McDonald's menu.
Oh, you're right.
That was a
can't
delicious
believe-
Big and
burger.
Toasty is
Big and
the
Toasty was Dunkin' Donuts,
Yeah.
and that's the item that Patrick pointed out to me this past week does not exist anymore.
Yeah, discontinued, at least from the Donkeys by me.
Donkeys.
No, it's not a thing anymore.
About that part, right? So
About the Big and Tasty
Yeah, yeah.
at
Big and
250
Toasty at
Maple
Donkeys.
Street in Marlborough, Mass, which they don't have them anymore.
The guitar solo, the 2 solos that are like in the part, it happens twice. Like the first one seemed like it was like Neil Young had no idea what he was doing.
I don't know. I was
It was
just
like
paying
sort
attention.
of
to
meandering.
The
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. to the bangy things.
oh, that's that bangy knocky sound thing that's happening there.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has a. It's definitely a live take all the way through, and it sounds like he sort of built up to it. He's a
Yeah,
little
it was
more-
like almost like unintentionally weird, like
Yeah.
the vocals on "There's a World."
Yeah.
Like the vocal just doesn't seem like it's right. Like it's just
Yeah.
badly done.
Poorly executed. What was your MVP moment, Christopher?
So for me, it was the strummy heavy piano part into all of the orchestration in "A Man Needs a Maid."
A man needs a man.
And for me, again, like I really enjoyed a lot of this album. I really enjoyed almost all of this album. and I can see where this influenced people that influenced me. And this album, listening to this, was like fucking listening to Amnesiac for me. I just heard so much goddamn Radiohead out of this album, and that was one of the examples. But this particular circumstance, it was lovely. Just hearing that like dung 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 like piano sort of thing just give way to the orchestration was really nice.
Yeah, there's definitely some Yorkie moments in that song. I've noticed.
I would argue that there are some Youngie moments in Radiohead.
All right.
But yeah, what's interesting about that is that the vocals that Neil Young had going on that were super dry, which is ballsy for a vocalist. Because especially he's not a perfect vocalist.
Right.
Can you just define dry? What you
No
mean by
reverb.
dry?
No
Oh, yeah,
reverb.
okay.
Yeah, it's just up front. It's just stark. It's there. It's naked. And that's ballsy for a vocalist to do. And the funny thing is that Jack Nietzsche, who did a lot of the scoring for this record, he scored that song too.
Yeah.
He did most of the score for The Exorcist. The things that weren't Tubular Bells, of course.
Interesting.
And he also did the orchestration for River Deep Mountain High by Ike and Tina.
The fuck is that?
Ike and Tina Turner?
Oh, Ike and Tina. Ike
Yeah.
and
You
Tina.
know, Mike and Ike's the candy.
I thought like I heard Ike and Tina. I thought this was like an Icelandic punk band that
Ike
you
and
listened
Tina.
But yeah, no, he did like all
Interesting.
sorts of scoring stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, he did the scoring for this, which I fucking loved. So
Yeah, I would say the scoring in Man Needs a Maid was probably the better of the two, for sure.
yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna jump in because
for it.
my MVP moment is there's two of them. So when the piano comes in, or the piano for When a Man Needs a Maid, whatever it is. I remember forgetting, or when I first listened to it, like in the past week, going over it, I like totally forgot that Neil Young could like play piano like that. And I was just
Yeah.
like, wow. And so it was like, for me, it's sort of like a rediscovery of kind of the depth of understanding that somebody like Neil Young, that you generally understand as like a very gristly and rough musician, at least like in the popular perception of him.
It's Sabretooth playing guitar.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Marvel Comics Sabretooth playing
Oh,
guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa, what's going on with that? Yeah, no, and I just remember being like, I think before coming in, it had been like several years since I'd actually listened to this album in full, and I gave it like 3 listens before coming in, and was just like, again, just sort of like, wow, I had no idea that somebody like Neil Young could play guitar so beautifully. It's such a beautiful, beautiful piano line. So that was it was more like the surprise of it made it like the MVP moment for me.
I think
Yeah.
like for me, what kind of draws me to Neil Young are those moments where he's like surprisingly vulnerable, where you can really hear it in in his vocals and his delivery, and definitely in those piano pieces that he does.
Yeah.
After the Gold Rush, actually, there's a few more examples of actually I think the title track itself is a piano piece very similar to this, with no orchestration on it, and it's just him, vocals and piano all the way through. It's really nice.
Yeah. And then my second MVP moment is the first chorus in Alabama, because right when that first starts, you're like, okay, here we go. We're getting to see like some of this Neil Young that we know from like CSNY. You mentioned Ohio earlier.
Yeah.
And then right when that chorus lifts or hits, it's like a big lift into just like, all right, here we go. This is a straight rock song with like beautiful, beautiful folk harmonies, and and you can hear that whoever the other 2 guys are that sort of feature on that from CSNY, that was the biggest lift for me, I think.
Yeah.
Just listening
really
to it.
nice stacking on the vocals. So I would say my MVP moment was in words, and it was the line right after the second solo, maybe, or it was basically the second go through of the B section where he says, "I was a junk man selling you cars, washing your windows, and shining your stars."
I was a drunk man selling you cars, washing
was delivered right when this change comes back in, where the feel goes back into the straight time.
How did it hit you? Like what is it about that line?
I don't know.
Kinda...
He sounds really ragged and gristly and like it's just like a moment of someone like just like sheer exhaustion, still trying to express this thought to you, and just the imagery of it. The I'm your junk man. This sort of where he's very deprecating.
I'm the junk man.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't think he was a junk man. Did he die of heroin overdose? No, he ate his own poop. The scat man. What? Yeah.
I kind of checked out for a few minutes there and came back to that. What just happened?
I saw. No, you were like looking at
fine.
us and not saying anything. It's kind of like.
I'm just looking at random objects in Chris's basement.
Way to contribute.
Sorry. It's been a long day. I've eaten like garbage all day. And then I drank a Red Bull. So I'm going to have some extraterrestrial dreams tonight. That's what happens.
Dude, me too.
I'll wake up screaming in the middle of the night.
I housed a whole thin crust Domino's before coming here, and also
Jesus
had a Red
Christ,
Bull.
dude.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's too bad. So anyway, back to the song words. I really also enjoy the vocal harmonies on that song in particular. There's kind of a cool tension where like one of the guys is just sort of singing a straight note over the whole thing, and it adds a really nice tension.
Yeah, I
on
pointed
the
that out
vocal
too. It's
melodies.
very dynamic, but not like complicated. It was like simple dynamics that were like endearing.
Yeah,
sort of
it's
throughout.
very common in folk country stuff. This sort of like leading tone that stays all the way through on vocal harmonies. Yeah, it's a really nice effect. I don't know, cool moment.
Jim, have you ever seen the film Dark Skies?
No, but it sounds like I don't want to.
You should see it. It's a good alien abduction film.
Oh, man. I watched it. You saw Fire in the Sky, right?
Oh yeah.
That movie scared the ever-living shit out of me.
No, I saw that in the theater with my mom.
Fire in the Sky?
Yeah.
Wow.
I like how Jim just heard Dark Skies and he was like, "Not for me. I don't fuck with any kind of skies."
But no, it's
Close Encounters
Light
of
or
the Third
dark.
Kind scared the crap out of me, for Christ's
Oh
sake.
yeah, no man, watch Dark Skies. It's real good. They do a lot of good work with what you don't see.
Oh, no.
I don't believe in aliens.
You should watch My Friend Mac or My Buddy Mac. What is
Mac and me.
it? Mac and Me.
I do believe in that alien. That's the only one.
That is an extended commercial for McDonald's, but it is a fine film. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fucking like French fry monster or something, or one of those chicken nuggets that have the tumor in it, right?
I think that's a different way of looking at the film than most people have, but yeah, I mean, you're not too far off.
There's also like a 25-minute dance routine. It's like
Yeah,
wonderful.
there's a dance routine led by Ronald McDonald. It's insane. A lot
That
of product
is-
placement in that.
That sounds exactly like my nightmare. All right, I
That was
think
a really long.
comparable album.
thank you for helping host this show, Christopher.
No worries.
All right, Al Gentile, do you have a comparable album for this for us?
I would say that the thing that really comes to mind for me is Beck's Sea Change, which we talked about a little bit before.
Okay, yeah.
I think that like one of the things that really links me to it is the symphonic moments. Although I think in Harvest it's not always well done, and sort of the really typical country sounds like the lap steel is something that they both use. And one of the bigger similarities is that a lot of the songs that are on Sea Change are incredibly like down tempo, which for the first song on Harvest, it sort of like reminded me immediately of that.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like almost like a teasing out of like what you can do with just incredibly simple chord progressions and almost as minimal as you can get.
Right.
In terms, so like that's probably the first thing that came to mind the moment I put on this record, and then throughout sort of proved it to me over and over again, with the exclusion of Alabama.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that album, but Mutations is another one that he did a couple years earlier than that.
Oh, Mutations is my favorite of his.
Yeah, that's one that I kind of get a similar feeling from in terms of
Really?
like the simple instrumentation, and that one reminds me a little more of Bowie, but and it's the guy who produced the Radiohead album.
Godrich.
Godrich.
Sorry, also, by the way, I was thinking of Midnight Vultures, but that's fine.
Sorry.
No, that was my bad.
Don't do it again.
I'll try not to.
Al's got that Mr. Movie phone voice
Yeah.
going on.
Sitting around a table with mics.
If you want to see the mask, press 1. If you want to see the mask 2,
No, I meant more like
2.
Do you want to
Yeah.
jerk off to Don LaFontaine?
Christopher Brown was a simple man in a simple town.
Oh, is that Don LaFontaine?
4 mics, 4 men, 1 album.
That's good. That's really
very
good.
good.
Thank you.
You guys ever looked at the voice credit list for Frank Welker? The
Yeah.
dude is like
He's done a lot of shit. Yeah,
he's literally
Dude,
the
he's-
highest paid
Is he one of those
actor.
guys like that does
Yeah,
the movie
he-
thing?
The
he's-
highest paid voice actor in
Dude,
Hollywood.
he is Don Carnage from Tailspin.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And a
He's
lot of
also-
other things.
He also will just be in every single fucking movie as like a dog.
Yeah.
Like if they can't get a
Yeah,
sound of a
he
dog barking,
gets
they
a lot
just
of
have
work.
him come in to bark.
Speaking of dogs, I finally watched Isle of Dogs
Good.
Friday night.
You like it?
I liked it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was a good film.
I would imagine an Isle of Dogs is pretty fun.
Oh yeah, it was a good time.
I mean,
Puppies?
it wasn't like an optimistic outlook at the beginning of the film, but it's a fun movie. It's a
Well,
good
eventually
movie.
the dogs get into the water and you can ride them around and it's a lot of fun.
The only reason to own a dog is to ride it in the water.
Yeah, I mean, you get them in the water and it's you just go.
Basically, it's like there's an
It's
isle
like 375
Okay, if I remember the
horsepower
movie,
engines.
okay, no, if I remember the movie correctly, there's an Isle of Cats, and there's also like an Isle of Giraffes, an Isle of Pigs, and the whole focus of the movie is the Isle of Dogs.
Yeah, I mean, you're really trying to ignore those other islands. That's
That's like the whole point of the movie.
the problem is the pressure as you watch this film is you are just trying so hard to ignore those other islands.
444 dogs, 1 island, 1 ocean.
But many other animals on those other islands, and just don't pay attention to them because there's
These other islands are trying to move in.
Tons of Japanese people.
Oh my god! So basically, Isle of Dogs, they're like Germany in the early 20th century, where they're like terrified of all the other countries coming in to invade them, so they become like a militaristic hyper state. Is that
Weird.
the point of the movie?
That's some pretty deep undertones. I've not seen the movie, so I have no idea like what you guys are talking about.
Anyways, it's pretty good. You should check it out.
Anyway, comparable album, Jim.
So I'm actually going to be kind of boring here. I'm going to go with Harvest Moon, which is
all right.
20 years later on.
Yeah.
And the reason I picked that is because, like I said, so my dad listened to a lot of Neil Young when I was growing up. I have vivid memories of sitting in the back seat, not being able to see out the window, and just hearing like the song Harvest Moon and hearing that brush sound on the floor.
Harvest
there.
Moon is a fucking beautiful song.
Is it
Yeah.
because your dad sweeps the floor every time he listens to
No,
Neil Young?
he told me, he was like, "Do you hear that sound?" He's like, "That's the sound of a broom on the floor." He recorded like a broom sweeping on the floor. And like I think a couple of songs on this you could throw on Harvest, and you wouldn't even know the difference. Like you
Right.
could totally throw From Hank to Hendrix on Harvest, and it would fit in fine.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the idea was it was supposed to be like a continuation
Yeah.
of that same vibe, but that was released in 1993.
92.
92, sorry. Whatever. Christopher?
I am going to go with Warren Zevon's self-titled album.
Interesting.
Okay. Not familiar enough with the Zevon.
Me neither, but yeah.
Warren Zevon is one of the greatest songwriters who has ever lived. His
Oh,
song,
you're one of those guys. Cool.
Of that camp.
yeah, sure. I guess I fall into that category. His song "Desperados Under the Eaves" is one of my favorites of all time. It's on that album. He's got a bunch of other great tunes that are on that album, and yeah, just falls under the same category. Great singer-songwriter in that time, in that neck of the woods, who was doing cool stuff.
Yeah. Good for
With like guitars and stuff.
Yeah, like he made the guitars make the noise, and I think that's how it worked.
One time he had a sarsaparilla at the bar,
And
and a
yeah,
horse was outside.
yeah.
We make good podcast noises.
Yeah, no, fucking Warren Zevon though. That guy was fucking amazing. And
I'll have to
his
check him out,
Record
yeah.
was good, dude. You will fucking love Warren Zevon. Honestly, I need to give you like a Taylor, like curated like mix of Warren Zevon songs that
Please
you
do.
will enjoy because you'll fucking love him.
Sounds like somebody's going to
get.
get a very interesting email later on.
Yeah, there'll be dick pics possibly, but you'll enjoy it.
Not of his though.
No, I'm gonna Google them. I'll find the best ones for you. But
All right. Well, make sure you do it through Slack so I can show HR at work.
all right, sweet.
Awesome. So my comparable album is also kind of a weird one. Fragile by Yes.
What the fuck?
Really?
Yeah.
Patrick, this is the 7th time that you've done this.
What, Fragile by Yes?
No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Explain yourself.
So, I mean, it came out kind of around the same time. Fragile was 1971. But there's sort of a piecemeal sort of vibe to it as well, where there are songs that were obviously the production value was a little higher than others, mostly because Rick Wakeman had like an actual harpsichord and like actual mellotron, which were like very expensive at the time. So there's sort of like a
Guys, I have a new instrument, and we need to record it.
he has an entire harpsichord in his hands. He has a
Walking down the
strap.
hall with it. Yeah, it's like a backpack.
I have procured this.
He's wearing his fucking wizard's robe. Anyway, so it's also a record that I kind of look to as like I really like the production of the drums where they're very intimate, very warm, very sort of in a small room. I really hate a lot of reverb on drums, and yeah, they're just both records that I can fucking throw on a Sunday morning and smoke a J to. I don't know.
I think that's an interesting sentiment because I'm familiar with that album too, and I guess like since you mention it, it's sort of that makes a lot of sense that it's sort of like more of a patchwork album than something that was necessarily sort of completely thought out to be this. I mean, a lot of people call Harvest like a masterpiece for like a lot of reasons, but it is sort of this album that was just kind of tossed together.
Yeah, this was like, okay, this is what I've put together this year. Let's get it all on an album together to fulfill this contract.
One thing I really want to point out super quick is that none of us made, I think, a single mention of Heart of Gold, which
That's
is
very
like
true.
the most famous track on this album.
Yeah, and it's
And I'm
funny.
wondering why.
I don't know because my note is you could cover this in any genre and it'd be amazing. Great tune.
Yeah, I would say that there's actually a few other songs that, other than Out on the Weekend, I actually really fucking love. One of them being Old Man. I've always really enjoyed that song. It's definitely a
was
close
really
favorite.
I love Old Man. I love Heart of Gold. The one thing I don't like about Heart of Gold is the fucking kick sound on that song. It is floppy cardboard bullshit.
Yeah, I picked
And
that out too.
it's-
It sounded like a cereal box being whacked with a spoon, you know?
And it's not different the whole way through. It sounds like it's the exact same hit of the same cardboard box through
It's
the
sampled.
entire song.
But regardless, it's a great song.
It is. And,
Irregardless is not a word, asshole.
It actually
I said
is.
regardless.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm
I
a
think I
big fan of
stumbled over
the.
my word.
All right.
I'm a big fan of the title track as well, Harvest. I think it's a gorgeous song.
Harvest, I think, is like the best song that Weezer never wrote. If you
Yeah.
added like 25 BPMs and distortion to that, that's a Weezer
Interesting.
song.
Yeah.
It is in a way the sort of like the sort of nature of the chords are very Weezer-esque. But yeah, it's really nicely arranged. I love that song.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's very good.
I think there's definitely like a collection of songs on here that are like of the same cloth that like I would probably say are equally fantastic.
There's a lot of good songs on this record. It's a very good album.
Yeah. All right, so
You're gonna rate this bitch?
yeah, we've done all the things, right? All right, Al. What do you rate this out of 10? No decimals.
Out of 10, does it have to be stars or can it be of my choice?
We've been
1
tossing
to
around
0 to 10, no decimals.
Oh, no. Okay, so I'm going to rate this.
no chocolate camels.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 7 caramel camels out of 10 caramel camels.
You snuck them in there.
Camels, love them. Dang.
James.
I'm gonna give it a 7 as well. Not my favorite Neil Young album, but definitely a good one.
Yeah.
Woo.
Woohoo.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I fucking love this.
Yeah.
This is really cool. It was my first time hearing it tonight, and I really dug it.
Yeah. I would also give it an 8. I think it's. I really have to dig in more to his catalog, but I did
It's
do
a
a whole.
big catalog.
It's a big one, and I did listen all the way through last fall, actually, when we were doing the trans episode. And I definitely gravitated to this one the most. I think it's probably my favorite Neil Young album. I think the songs on here, the strong songs that are on here are just so excellent and so well crafted that it sort of makes up for the weaker tracks on this album. And I think the aesthetic aspect of it is definitely, nothing to sniff at. Definitely a lot there to, it's rich in a lot of things that I can draw influence from, even as someone who doesn't necessarily fuck with country folk very much. There's a lot there for me to sort of be inspired by.
That's a
aesthetically.
good point. So this album is considered a country album,
Yeah.
which you think about that today, and it's like
It's not.
it's
though.
not.
It's way more of a
not,
folk
yeah.
album, I guess.
Yeah.
That's who we think of it. Interesting fact I wanted to point out that I learned was that apparently the drummer for this album, who did most of the drumming, was actually just like picked up
Yeah,
off the street.
he was walking down the street.
Right, that's what it was. Yeah. Just to
yeah.
throw it out there.
He's not doing a hell of a lot. He's doing a lot of just kick, snare, shit.
Yeah.
You got 2 hands and a foot? Come on in.
Well, I mean, yeah, given the state of indie rock right now, we're especially in America, where Americana is very big, it's like, yeah, it doesn't sound terribly different from what like indie is doing at the moment in America.
Going back to the whole picking up musicians on the side of the road. So I guess David Bowie's guitarist was like his pizza delivery guy.
Who's Stevie Ray Vaughan? No. Oh, Mick Ronson.
Carlos Elomar, is that the guy?
I don't remember.
One of those guys.
Like he's like, what do you, like I guess he like delivered a pizza one day and was like, hey, I play guitar.
Mick Ronson. Oh my God, Mick Ronson delivered a pizza one day. That just made me think of somebody posted. It was a Snapchat, and it was like a screenshot of a Snapchat. And it was like this pizza guy who was in a Papa John's shirt, and he was at a party. Like these guys are playing beer pong, and the pizza guy's just there with a beer in his hand, and the caption on it, or like the Snapchat message across it, is "Pizza Man said fuck work." And then I saw someone take that image later and superimpose it on a cover of Capital by Karl Marx.
Oh, Jesus.
So that just made me think of "Pizza Man said fuck work."
Did I tell you guys my story about the pizza guy in Florida?
No, it already sounds great.
Oh, it was great. I was sitting there on my couch in college. I might have been stoned. I don't remember, probably. But I ordered a pizza, and the pizza guy showed up, and I was watching Breakfast Club. And the pizza guy opens the door, and he's like, "Oh, shit, are you watching Breakfast Club?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I love this movie." And the motherfucker came in and watched it with me for like 20 minutes.
Wait, how did he end the encounter is my better question.
He was like, "All right, man, I got to go." And I was like, "All right." And he left, and I never saw him again.
It's funny because he probably could have like delivered at least 2 pizzas in that 20 minutes and was just like, "No, those guys can fucking wait.
Yeah.
This movie rules."
And that's just, if I could earn like a livable wage just delivering pizzas, I would fucking do that in a heartbeat.
Just do Uber and deliver pizza at the same
I mean,
time.
I did. Well, actually,
Eats.
Uber Eats,
Yeah.
they did have us deliver pizza sometimes. I mean, obviously, it's
Oh, man.
not a lucrative job, but man, you meet some
you
interesting
could do
characters.
Uber Eats for McDonald's.
Yeah,
They do
I've
that
done
too, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
because Patrick
Yeah.
would just eat it all before it got there.
I've only done that once.
I'm just gonna have one.
Whoa,
fry.
I had a couple fries.
Can I clarify on what you meant by that statement?
No, because I don't think I'm. my lawyers might be listening and say I can't.
Oh dear!
Give any more information
It
on
went
this
that
case.
way.
Actually, it's funny because Uber Eats with McDonald's was what made me have one of the lowest points in my life.
I was gonna say it's what made me had diarrhea.
Yeah. Oh no. But it's like, so I came home one night after work. I'm bartender part time, and I got home at like 3 a.m, and I was like, man, I'm just so fucking hungry. I need something to eat. Like I haven't eaten in like at that point like 9 hours or something.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm like, sitting there being like, where can I go? Like, I don't want to go walk to the store. I don't want to do anything. So I download Uber Eats and I see, like McDonald's is the only thing that's open. So I'm scrolling through being like, $11 for a meal? Fuck that. No way. Absolutely not. And then I come down to one point where it says $8.99 for 10 cheeseburgers. And I go, what? I sat there for a moment and I was like, all right, so they're open for 24 hours. So I can take a couple minutes to think about this. All right.
He puts the phone down. He's just staring at the ceiling.
I put the goddamn phone down and I'm just like sitting there thinking like, all right, so I'm probably going to be able to get through 5 of these, but like, do I really want to eat a sack of cheeseburgers?
You could freeze the rest.
Here's what happened.
Okay.
So I decided, yes, I can eat a sack of cheeseburgers. So
All
I
right.
order it. Comes really fast. It's really awesome. I'm sitting there and I get through 4 of them. But I was watching TV and so I fall asleep. So then I wake up the next day at like probably, 9:30, 10 o'clock maybe. And I just saw the sack of cheeseburgers and I was like, I'm going to keep going. And totally just kept, I had cheeseburgers for dinner and then breakfast 5 hours later or something like that.
That's incredible.
That was a low point in my life.
Oh, so you were able to save them for breakfast without dying.
And then I ate them for
Good.
lunch later on. So I did get through the entire sack of burgers.
oh
pretty
yeah,
much.
no, you got your money's worth.
Oh, yeah, dude. I already went that far. Like,
I've done that before where I've been so drunk that I went and got a whole McDonald's meal and passed out and had to like get up and eat it for breakfast.
ooh, cardboard fries. Like,
Yeah, I mean that. It was a what was it? A fucking double quarter pounder, which those like last forever.
Oh yeah.
Just put
So
the ketchup
I
on
did
it.
a weird road
They're
trip.
good at any temperature.
I did a weird road trip with my brother-in-law a long time ago, where basically we. So long story short, like he flew up to my parents' house for Christmas with my sister, and then like he had to like go back home to like get his car, and then like drive back to like get gifts and stuff to drive back home. So I went with him for that road trip to like go back up home. And when we got back down to Kentucky, to where they were living at the time, he's like, "Oh yeah, we gotta go to White Castle. Let's do this."
Why would you not go to the fried chicken establishment, which has its birth in Kentucky?
Because I was 18 years old at the time and I was following instruction. And he's like, "All right,
Good man.
so we're gonna go to White Castle." And I'm like, "All right, sweet." So we're gonna get this bag of hamburgers. It's gonna cost like $10 in there. It's gonna be like 20 hamburgers in there. And I'm like, "Can we eat all of those?" He's like, "Nope." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So we sit there in the restaurant and we eat a bunch of them, and we get to a point where we're not going to finish. And I'm just like, "So what happens now?" He's like, "We bring them home." And I'm like,
Go on.
"I've never heard this sort of story before." And he's like, "Yeah, no worries. We bring them back." So we go back to their house at the time, and he puts them in the freezer, and he slams the freezer door shut, and he's like, "Don't worry. When you wake up tomorrow, heat those guys up."
So he
And
flash froze them.
So yeah, so basically he's in the military at the time, so he wakes up at like God knows what time in the morning and like leaves for work. I wake up from their futon at like fucking 10 in the morning, and I wake up and I'm like, I wonder if there's anything to eat. And I open the fridge and it's like not too full because they're up north for Christmas. And I open the freezer and I see the bag just like waiting for me of White Castle like
and all the
burgers.
fat that's like in the air now in the bag just congealed and solid.
Yeah.
Like, bleh.
So, but here's the crazy thing, because I had no other options, I put it in the microwave, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this. It's fine. It was better.
Really?
It was better from the microwave.
Have you
than
ever
it
bought
was.
the White Castle burgers like in
Yeah.
the free? Like, so I've tried that before. Never a real White Castle,
Me neither.
but I was like, these are famous, and
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
like $4 for 30 burgers or something like that. I tried it. It was like absolutely fucking revolting.
So what?
Oh, yeah.
and I've
those
never
ones you
had
get.
a burger
Yeah.
where I was like, I literally can't do this.
So I would say that the best time to have White Castle is to buy it from the store, put it in a freezer overnight, and then microwave it. Second best time is fresh from the store.
Yeah.
And then third best time is microwave via a convenience store.
which is way the fuck down the list.
Yeah.
It's a steep drop.
Absolutely
steep
insane.
diminishing returns
it's
for me.
so nuts that's the way that it goes.
Yeah, I've experienced those frozen White Castle burgers.
The frozen White Castles are fine. It's like it's definitely like you're drunk at home and like you just need snacks.
And
like,
there's a gas station across the street. It's the only place in that's open.
Exactly. Like it fills a void.
It's probably the only thing left on the shelves too, because everybody else knows that they're fucking trash.
Yeah, once they run of the good bougie, Stouffer's French bread pizzas,
So bougie.
yeah, you gotta go get the fucking White Castles. All right, so that was a cumulative score of 7.5, by the way.
Yep.
So that was good. Yeah,
Solid C.
7 and 8. Yeah, good job, Neil Young.
Hey, a C passes, man.
That's right.
does.
Passes.
Shit. So what do we got now? Al, you got anything you want to plug?
Well, I guess for anybody who might be listening, shameless plug here. I'm currently working on a 4-song EP that I'm hoping to be out within the next 2 months. No name for it yet, but it's for my solo project, The Analog. So come find me on Facebook, facebook.com something, I don't know, look up The Analogs.
Awesome.
Also, if you're looking for any clutch marketing copywriting, hit me up.
Jim?
I'll go ahead and plug my Instagram at metadrummer, METADRUMMER. I do my daily drum clip. You can watch me scramble to fucking post daily things, and sometimes it's really shitty.
Jim looks really nervous right now.
That's because he's thinking about how he's going to set up when he actually has a cereal box.
Because I
and
just
does use
realized
that.
I'm out of material and I need to post today's, and I haven't yet.
Oh, so yeah, you gotta drive home in an hour and then record.
Jim's thinking about what he's going to look
I'll just
at
I'll
for
just
porn
play
later.
I'll just play on the steering wheel and post that.
He's wondering if there's any substitute teacher porn.
Oh yeah.
That's from my off-air conversation, by the way.
We'll take it offline. You're right. That's what we do after each session. We talk about what we're going to be looking up on Pornhub that night. Not necessarily to masturbate to, but like just to see what's out there, just to see what the kids are into.
Gotta keep up with the times.
Yeah,
Sure do.
yeah. A lot of ass eating.
Just constant ass eating.
Ladies kissing.
Times are tough. Ladies kissing.
I've got nothing at the moment, but probably something soon. So yeah, nothing.
All right, yeah, and I'm going to plug the Bears for Year show that's happening Saturday, September 29th at McGann's, 197 Portland Street in Boston. Jim Schultz is going to be playing drums for that as well. So we're playing, we got the Golden Years of Dutch Pop, Ruby Fruit Jungle, and 21 Grams More. So it's going to be a full-ass lineup.
Was that a list of bands, or did you just have like a seizure or something? That just was like such a weird collection of words, and it's like...
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that was your band practicing. I assumed you were stabbing a cat. Dad!
And just to shout out, actually, so this is this episode will air, and then the one after it will be the 1-year anniversary of
Oh
the show.
no shit.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations, guys.
We made it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Please,
we're
if you
going
don't die
nonstop.
beforehand.
No, nonstop. We don't take breaks. We're just doing one Eterna season.
Eterna season.
All right. Yeah, let's wrap it up. This is fun.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thanks, Al. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you very much, guys.
Al.
Seriously.
Yeah, check out Old Men Yell at Cloud on Facebook and rate us on iTunes.
Oh yeah,
Give
we
us-
got an email now.
We got an email now, oldmenyellatcloud@gmail.com.
Yeah, please email us and send us whatever horrible things you want.
Yeah, send us some stories. Send us some hate mail. We'll talk about it on the air.
Yeah, definitely some hate mail. I definitely want to read that on the air.
Yeah, basically
and,
whatever you want to send us, just send it to us. Except if it's something illegal, don't send us that.
Yo, and if you're this in from the news desk, if you're in the Marlboro area, please visit the McDonald's on 250 Maple Street in Marlboro, Mass.
Yeah, Pat's been
working there for the past couple of weeks. He really wants to see.
Just from the news desk.
Oh man, yeah, good shit, good pies. I probably won't be going there later because last time I ate there, I got diarrhea. It was pretty cool.
You're full of shit. You're going there.
No, not anymore. It emptied me out. Yeah, I got.
gonna hit the
what
Wakefield
happened
instead?
was I got
To win him back.
gotta earn me back. I got an M&M McFlurry, and basically I asked him, I was like, "Oh, can I get an M&M McFlurry?" And he was like, sure."
Mistake number one on your part.
So I think there's something about it was suspect. Like he went and inspected it and made a judgment call that was like, "No, this asshole can eat this rotten McFlurry. It's fine."
Rotten. Was there like chunks of mold?
Mr.
inside?
Manager, where's Patrick been? I don't know, Johnny. I don't know.
I hope we can
He'll be
survive the
back.
winter.
They always come
He
back.
fell victim to a McFlurry.
No, I'm pretty sure it gave you diarrhea, and it was pretty horrendous. I
I think it's your
vomited,
bad
too.
attitude that gave you diarrhea, bro. Jesus Christ.
Anyway, we're Old Men Yell at Cloud. Thanks for joining us. I'm Patrick.
Bye,
I'm
everybody.
Christopher.
Oh, see you now.
Good day.